appealed the circuit court decision. The Attorney General of the State of Michigan appealed the circuit court decision. This is very troublesome to me because they went to an extreme effort to then say, no, we are going to penalize somebody for paying their neighbor to come over and help them so that they don't have to go to a nursing home. And they took it to the Court of Appeals, and they got a unanimous decision at the Court of Appeals saying that they can penalize you. Now, there's a couple of good news things. One is that it's an unpublished opinion. And the second thing is the Medicaid office, they call it DHHS, has not been enforcing that rule as of yet. Jen probably didn't see this because she was over here before me, but they just came out with a new change to the eligibility manual. They call it the BEMS, or the Bridges Eligibility Manual. And the new proposed change clarifies it a little bit, but basically does say if you're going to hire somebody, you have to have a detailed written contract that says what is that they're doing. It has to be notarized, and it has to be signed by the doctor. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's a relative, you definitely have to do it. If it's a neighbor, you have to do it. I think if it's an agency, I would do it. So we're going to work on this because it looks like this is a real thing that the state's going to try to enforce. We're going to work on trying to streamline this and make it cheaper for you to come and get those documents from us, because in the past it's been relatively expensive to do this because we only did it for family care members, and that gets even more complicated. There's even more rules for family caregivers. But we're going to try to streamline this to make it a little less expensive for you to say, okay, I want to in my home, I don't want to go to a nursing home, but I also don't want to get penalized if I end up having to go to a nursing home because I paid a caregiver. Okay, so we're going to streamline that and try to make it cost effective. Veterans benefits, we talked about this last year. We didn't talk about it last year, but I've sent lots of emails and things like that. So in January, they proposed major changes to the veterans benefits. They proposed a look back. So if you know what I'm talking about, right? This veterans benefits is not for the people that were injured in service, but the people that served during a wartime period and now need some kind of long-term care, home care, assisted living, any of that type of stuff. And the VA has, depending on your situation, somewhere between $1,100 and $2,100 a month that they will pay towards that long-term care under the right set of circumstances. So we got to do planning to get that. Just like we do planning for a nursing home, we do planning for veterans benefits. Right now, as of the law is right now, we can do that planning today and apply for veterans benefits the 1st of next month. Okay, so we do it today. We apply for benefits in October. They're now proposing that there's going to be a 3-year look back on that we'd have to do the planning 3 years in advance. Now that has not, they've proposed changes to the federal regulation. It's another thing that it's kind of government gone amok. And here's what I mean by that. So the VA wanted to impose this 3-year look back, right? So they went to Congress, and they put it in Congress. And Congress didn't let it get out of committee. And then so they went again, and they put it in Congress. And a number of senators and things like that said, no, we don't think that's fair to our veterans. We're not going to let that get out of Congress. So they went the way they're supposed to in America, right? Remember the I'm just a bill thing. We're supposed to pass laws by actually passing laws and having both chambers of Congress vote on it and then have the president sign it. So they said, well, we didn't get our way, so we're going to just use the bureaucracy to change all the rules dramatically. And so we're just going to change the Code of Federal Regulation. So if you ever paid any attention to how a lot of laws get made, they just change the rules on you without any politicians being involved. So they went and they said, okay, we're going to change the Code of Federal Regulation. And all they need to do to get that passed is offer an opportunity for comment. Okay, so in January they proposed the changes and they offered opportunity for comment through March 29th or something like that. The State Bar Association actually had our firm write the comment for the State Bar Association. So all of the attorneys in Michigan asked us to write the comments on this for the federal, on this. So we wrote a comment, Jennifer wrote her own comment, Eric wrote a comment. There was 895 comments that were posted, and so they have to go through each one of those comments before they can enact this. And it's an absurd because there are so many different things that would disqualify somebody. having any kind of annuity would disqualify you. Having any kind of trust would disqualify you. Having any kind of, they didn't think this through. It's not well thought out. It's not, when we look at the Medicaid manual, for example, they tried to impose some of the Medicaid rules. But if you look at the Medicaid manual, I've never printed it out because I think my printer would quit. I would guess, if we had to look at the Medicaid manual, I would guess that it would start at the floor and go up to about here. It would probably go, 3 or 4 feet tall if we tried to print out the whole thing. They're trying to impose those types of rules with a 24-page change in federal regulations without any specifics. And so what do we do then? How is each investigator supposed to do their job? Well, in Medicaid, they know what they do because it's very specific. They do this under this circumstance. So what is the VA going to do? Because the VA is known to be really efficient, right? The VA is known to just do It's not. It's terrible. It is the worst. It is. They're in last century. I mean, they can't even find a document that was given to them a week ago, or a year ago. This is the VA, and so we're very worried about this. But we'll work with it. We'll do what we need to do. Okay. However, the current law is currently the way it is. We don't know when this is going to get invoked. There's rumors out there, but we don't know when the change, if the change is going to occur. Since right around the end of last year, right around before we did the annual meeting last year, they changed the rules with regard to these lockbox trusts and nursing homes, okay? So the lockbox trust still works, but now it used to be that lockbox trust would work immediately for a married couple. So a spouse goes into a nursing home, we can use the lockbox trust that day and protect the assets. Can't do that anymore. Now we've got several other options, okay? So if we've done it years in advance, if we've done it 5 years in advance, that's why people are doing more pre-planning now. But we've got other techniques we can do in an emergency. So somebody's in an emergency situation, they're in a nursing home, we haven't done planning, there's still things we can do, it's just a lot more complicated than doing the lockbox. So the lockbox still works, now it has a look back for a married couple too.
Bob kind of talked about this, but this really is going to deal with the Lady Bird deeds. There was an act that was passed that dealt with uncapping homestead exemptions when transfers. Some good things are they added stepchildren in there. Some bad things are if you have a Lady Bird deed and your house is in the Lady Bird deed transferred to your kids, that's an uncapping event. Meaning if you've owned your house for 50 years, as soon as it goes from the Lady Bird deed to your kids, they're going to get hit with higher taxes, especially if they're planning on keeping that house. Maybe it's a cottage up north. So there was good things that passed with it. The one bad thing is this effect on the Lady Bird deed, and that's kind of why Bob was specifically addressing that. You really need to look at everything. Are the kids going to sell the house right away? Well, that might not be a problem doing the Lady Bird deed. But if they're going to keep it, watch out because uncapping might occur on that.
So the idea of that is after you die, your homestead, your property taxes haven't gone up more than a certain percentage because of the homestead rules. That can continue even after you die if it's done right. But if you use a Lady Bird deed, it uncaps it. We're pretty much done. I just want to go through reminders here. This is the average cost of nursing home for 2015 as of January 1st. January 1st of 2016, they will come out with a new number. Anybody think it's going down? This is the state's number, okay? It probably has already gone up. We find that most of the nursing homes around here averages about $9,000 a month. So this average is just a touch over $8,000 a month. But we find that most of the ones around here are about $9,000 a month. Now, when I say nursing home, I mean nursing home. I don't mean assisted living. I don't mean independent living. I mean nursing home, okay? But none of us will ever go to a nursing home, right? Statistics say we're wrong. Now, one of our goals is to not be a statistic. One of our goals for our clients is, how do we not be one of these statistics? And the more planning you do, the more help that you accept, the more we get somebody in your house, and you guys have probably all heard me say this, a lot of our clients are in nursing homes and will be there for the rest of their life, and it all started with a broken hip. So they break their hip because they were maybe, juggling 4 loads of laundry on these crickety stairs down to the basement, laundry, and they trip on the stairs and they break their hip. Then they go, and maybe there was some memory issues already, maybe a little dementia already. They go to the hospital, and they catch whatever's going around the hospital, urinary tract infection, whatever other infection. The trauma of the whole thing has made their memory issues get worse, their dementia get worse. They go to rehab, they catch whatever's at rehab. They're laying in bed for, 6 weeks, not moving a lot, and so they lose muscle mass, and it just all spirals down. And so we've got a lot of our clients that are in a nursing home and probably will be there for the rest of their lives. And if we could have avoided that broken hip, we probably could have avoided the nursing home. Okay? And so what do I mean? What's the point of all this story? It's a very depressing story here. Get help before you think you need it. Okay? A lot of you are in the Korean War generation, World War II generation, things like that. You're known for being self-sufficient, not wanting help. I can do it myself. I've taken care of my family this long. I don't need any help. I don't want any strangers in my house, right? But the best way to avoid a nursing home is to get help before you think you need it. To make sure if you're struggling with remember and take your medicines, with getting the laundry done, with doing the cleaning, with doing those types of things, get help before you need it. So that's how to not be a statistic. But what are the statistics? According to the Congressional Budget Office, all right, so I didn't make this stuff up. This is a Congressional Budget Office did a study in 2009, and they said for people that turn 65 or older in 2010, 1/3 of them will spend somewhere between 3 months and 12 months in a nursing home, the $8,000 or $9,000 a month nursing home. Why 3 months to 12 months? Why is that a statistic? Because sometimes Medicare can pay for the first 100 days, but that's just a sometimes thing. Okay, so they're saying at least 1/3 of us are going to have to figure out how to pay for a nursing home for a period of time. 1/4 of us, or about 24%, will be in a nursing home over a year up to 5 years. According to the Congressional Budget Office, 9% of us, or almost 1 in 10 of us, will end up being in a nursing home for over 5 years. How much does a nursing home cost for 5 years? Well, it's going to be it's not going to be 97,000 times 5 because it keeps going up. It's going to be well over $500,000. So first of all, let's try to avoid it, but maybe we should have a plan in case we can't avoid it. Talked about the annual support program. Oh, this is the final thing to sort of end with. We have some classes coming up. So if you would like a refresher and go through our regular class for our non-clients, we have one coming up in Flushing at Goggins Hall, right on Main Street on the 23rd, which is a few weeks from now. And then we have one coming up in November at the Rochester House, Community House in Rochester. So many of you probably know, we opened up an office in Rochester Hills. So we had an office that we worked out of in Farmington Hills. This is a more permanent office in Rochester Hills. We've just moved all our furniture in and things like that, and we'll be there for, 5 years at least, probably longer. So we have a new office in Rochester Hills, so we're doing a class down there. If you have any friends or family or just you yourself would like to come, feel free to come by, and that's my regular 1.5 to 2 hour class. Obviously, we update and change things, and I tell new stories every once in a while, although a lot of times I tell the same stories. And then for our clients, these ones are not for the open public, but for our clients, we have the Successor Trustee Workshop. Now, we did one of these or 2 of these last year or 3 of these last year. Originally, we had designed it was only going to be for our annual support program members, but we decided there's so many folks that really could use this that we opened it up to all our clients. So if you're a client, you can attend this, the Successor Trustee Workshop. And I want to focus on that first word, successor. And what do I mean by this? This is a program designed for your child or for the person who's going to be your executor. Okay, so most of the people that came to last year to the Successor Trustee Workshops was the client. Okay, great, I'd love to see you, but what we're trying to do is educate your kids so that when you die or when you get sick, they aren't completely thrown off base. They know what to do. So the whole point of this is to say, what happens when mom dies? What happens when dad gets sick? Okay, that's the point of this workshop. And so you're welcome to come. Great, more happy to see you. But we'd really like you to bring the person who's going to be in charge, your executor. Okay, your successor trustee is the proper terminology, but it's typically your child or the person who's going to be the one that's going to do stuff after you're gone. So we got 2 of them set up. We've got October 8th at 10 a.m. at my office there, and October 14th at 4 p.m. at the office here in Grand Blanc. And both of them are going to be in Grand Blanc. All right, final thing here is, don't forget, we're doing our Alzheimer's walk on Saturday, and even if you just want to come by and say hi to us, the check-in's going to be at the Genesis Banquet Center, but where our table's going to be outside by the walk. And anybody have any further information about that? If you're interested, Rachel's on the, I think she might be the chair of the Alzheimer's Walk Committee for the Alzheimer's Association, the local Alzheimer's Association, so she'd be happy to get you more information. If you want to just come by and say hi, like I say, we've got some shirts. If you want to donate, we would love that too, even if it's $5 or $10, that's awesome. And so, thank you very much. Too many people here to take questions, but Jen and I and Amy and Rachel and April and Victoria, all of us are here. We can, if you want to, kind of ask questions one-on-one, please feel free to do that. Please turn in your yellow sheet. Everything else is for you to keep. Turn in your yellow sheet. That's the thing to let us know whether you need a call from us or not. So, thank you very much.